Can you fly as a powered wheelchair user? The short answer is yes. However, the long answer is it's complicated. And that is what this video is all about. So on Instagram, I asked you what your questions were around flying as an electric wheelchair user, and I got so many questions, so I thought I would answer them now. Bear with me, I've got them on my phone, so let's look together. Okay, so for context, actually, let me just tell you that I have flown 3 times in the last like 10 months. So I'm from the UK and I've flown from the UK to Sweden, Italy, and Las Vegas. So I've done 3 trips, both around Europe and America, just so that you know what my experience is. Before that, my experience was flying with my parents, which was a little bit different because I don't think I flew with my powered wheelchair. No, I didn't. It was a manual wheelchair, so a little bit easier, but then again, not. But when you're a child, you kind of like get carried around everywhere, and the chair's only small, so it's definitely a different experience as an older adult. So I've got quite a bit of experience of different situations, but this one is like me as a powered wheelchair user, which is quite heavy, and I cannot walk, I can't stand. So yeah, hopefully, if you're a wheelchair user, this might be helpful to you, or if you're just a little bit nosy like me, hopefully I can give you some goss about how it works. So let's look at the questions. If you travelled alone, do staff assist you to your chair? Are you put in a transport chair first? Okay, so I don't travel on my own usually when I'm going on a plane. However, when you go on a plane, there's always at least 2 assistance people, and they have always said to me, would you like assistance going into the chair? So they definitely can do it. And I know that some of my friends use a hoist to hoist themselves into the aisle chair and then from the aisle chair to the plane. So that can be done, but I haven't done that myself because what I do is my brother lifts me. He's probably the only person, bar a couple of friends slash family, that actually do pick me up. For context, I've got brittle bones, so it's quite a trusted thing for someone to lift me up. I do is I get my powered wheelchair as close to the plane door as possible. So I've done this in 2 ways. I don't know if there's more ways, but one that you can do is if the plane is low, like on the ground, I'm guessing. I'm not a pilot, forgive me. You can like go from ground floor or into a lift, I'm guessing that's on a different floor, and you can go from the building, like the gate, to the plane door. So I can drive my chair all the way close to the plane door, and then they'll get the aisle chair. Then my brother Jack puts me into the aisle chair, and then the 2 assistance people lifts the aisle chair, puts me next to the seat that I want to sit at, and then Jack lifts me onto the chair. So it's doable. It's definitely doable. However, the nerves that a lot of us wheelchair users have and go through, anxiety, first of all, leaving your chair, which is petrifying, not knowing where it's going to go, not knowing if it's going to be treated well. But I think for me, just being out of control, being lifted, especially when I've got brittle bones, um, these aisle chairs, I'll put a picture on this video, but they're not the most like, they're definitely not comfortable. A lot of them don't have arms. Some of them do, some of them don't. And you're strapped kind of shoulder, shoulder, lap, and sometimes knee as well. So you're kind of like barricaded in this seat that's very, very narrow because obviously it's got to fit through the aisles. So yeah, and I've got a chunky bum, so that was an experience. Anyway, we made it through, but I literally was like squeezing my arms in, and that wasn't great. But you know, you kind of just do it because you think, well, it's going to get you to your holiday. So the worst bit is coming back and you're like, ugh, CBA, I'm tired. But, it's good that there's ways of getting on the plane. Trying to be positive. Um, okay, so have I answered all that? Travelled alone. Yeah, so I don't travel alone, and there are people that can help you get on the plane. It's all about communication and just telling people how you like to be lifted, what you can and can't do, what you don't want to do. Like, as much as it's quite energy draining, but just communicate as much as you can, which I think is the hardest because, again, if you're not, I don't know, it's like if you're not treated as you or your age, or if people see only your disability and not you as a person, it's really hard to advocate for yourself. Um, but yeah, the only thing you can do is just try and speak what you need, um, as clear and as concise as you can. Probably a silly question, not a silly question. Can you access the toilet on the plane for a long haul flight? How do they assist? Okay, so this is something that I didn't do personally, and I kind of regret it because it was such a long flight. It was 9.5 hours, and I just didn't want a fuss. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. I kept it in. Like, I went to the toilet at the gate before we went to America. There is a toilet, but the door is so tight, it's so narrow. My brother and I noticed on one of the sides the toilet was a little bit wider, and what we'd agreed was because you've on most flights you've got the aisle chair on board, so basically you can, depending on what your mobility is. So for me, I would still need assistance. Um, so what we planned was my brother would put me on the aisle chair, then that would get pushed into the toilet. But it's that whole thing of like, I'm just not used to it, and I think I would do it in an absolute emergency, like I'm about to. Um, but yeah, for the sake of it, I just didn't. But I kind of wish I'd done it now. I think if I'd do it again, I would definitely try because it's such a long time and it's not good for you. Well, I mean, I'm not judging because if you don't do it either, fair, because I didn't. Um, but yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's not nice waiting for that long. But it's just not set up for disabled people right now, which is really frustrating. I think the least planes could do is be bigger. That's all we're asking. Make it bigger so that people can actually get in. A few grab rails wouldn't go amiss, but they won't ask for too much. But it's just a shame because that doesn't exclude anyone else. But the fact that it's so small, like I watched people that could stand and they were struggling to get into the toilet. Like, it's not cool. So yeah, if anyone's watching that designs planes, please just sort it out. Like, everyone needs it, not just disabled people. And even so, disabled people need it. Please, I would like to poo on a train. Poo on a plane. I'm gonna cut that out. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Um, how do I make myself comfortable on the aeroplane? Now, this was a good thing because I'm small. I've got all the leg room. So that wasn't too much of a deal, and I think I can like shuffle my body around. I think by like the 6, 7 hours, I started to get a little bit like numb on my bum, and I started to shuffle around a little bit. But all in all, wasn't too bad. Had to take some painkillers at that point just because I felt like I started to feel a bit stiff. But I think I would have felt stiff in my chair anyway, so yeah, it wasn't too bad, but I took a pillow, one of those travel pillows, took one of those. So that really helped. And I think just like watching films, having distractions so that you're not just thinking about your body all the time. Well, it helped me anyway. I don't know if that helps anyone else, but yeah, not the comfiest, but honestly not the worst. I definitely found Virgin Atlantic because we paid more for that flight and it was a longer haul. the chair was a lot more comfier. Oh my god, the Sweden one was like, it was like a bus seat. Like, no hate to Sweden, but yeah, not the best. Another question was, are you given alternative evacuation instructions? The answer to that is no, we are not, unless there is somewhere in the booklet that I didn't read. But as far as I know, no, we don't. Did I find travel insurance easy? Yes and no. Weirdly, my disability osteogenesis imperfecta, the full medical title, was on every insurance form. And I was like, whoa, this is being recognised. So for that, that was great because, it wasn't like I had to explain anything. But sadly, when I put that I'd got that, I tested it out and my insurance was when I put that I had been to the hospital in the last 2 years, um, my insurance quote went from £17 to £300, which is a shame, but I understand, like, I just saw I'm going all the way to America. I want to be able to have good medical insurance because you just never know. Especially because it's so easy for me to break bones anyway. I was just like, it'd be classic me that I'd break something and then have to pay thousands of pounds. So in the grand scheme of things, 300 is much better. But yeah, just frustrating, and it's like another disability extra cost that, just because of something that I can't control. Like, I know the likeliness of me breaking is more, but like anyone could break the bone, they could slip and fall, but it's like, because I've got a disability, I've got to pay £300, whereas my brother's paid like £17. It's just, frustrating, but I get it, and it was worth doing it to have that peace of mind. Uh, what happens if the joystick is crushed or damaged? That's my biggest fear. Honestly, I've flown 3 times and my joystick has never been crushed. Um, I guess that's something. It's a valid fear because obviously, if we don't have our joysticks, then we can't drive it. But I don't know if it's just me, but like my chair has been handled with care. Like I don't want to jinx it, but so far so good. Like I've got a lot of friends who like wrap the chair and I'm not surprised, like I get why, but for me, I haven't the only thing I've done to keep my chair kind of safe is I've put the footrest from like normal footrest to I've flipped it down. Um just because it makes the chair slimmer, and sometimes, like for Ryanair, not Ryanair, yeah, Ryanair, I had to put the seat fully back so that it was lower rather than taller. So there's different things that airlines might ask for. But all in all, honestly, I found it to be really good, and I know that there's been so many issues, and it's not good enough for wheelchair users. Like our chairs have been treated so badly, so I don't want to portray it as it's absolutely perfect. But for me, so far so good. I do think there's some kind of privilege of when your chair's so heavy, like it can't be flung about, it can't be like thrown everywhere. Whereas I think if you've got a lighter wheelchair, unfortunately, people just throw them, which is so heart wrenching and disappointing because they are our body parts, and I don't even know. People do know, they just don't care. So yeah, I completely understand the fear. And when I first started flying, I was like, oh my god, what happens if something goes wrong? But I guess, to be honest, like, having as many contacts as you can. So, when you are in the place that you are, if there's like mobility shops around, like, you shouldn't have to do that. But if that means that your anxiety is lowered a little bit, I would definitely think about having those shops and numbers just in case. But honestly, fingers crossed, my experience has not been too bad. But yeah, totally valid to be anxious and scared because these are our lives and we can't live without them. I did have a question about taking off and landing. and what that's like for somebody with brittle bones. I think it's someone with brittle bones I'd put the question in, and I just wanted to kind of comfort you, I guess, that I've got quite severe brittle bones on the scale of the disability. And I think when I first started flying as an adult, I was nervous about that. And I used to hold on to my brother's elbow because he's like 6'4". And I'd be like, ooh. But it does jolt and it does move, but it's not like a bang. It's quite a soft movement. And again, turbulence. I've not been in turbulence that like throws you about. So for me, it's never caused any injury. It's not really done anything. I think the only thing I would say is if you don't have control of your torso or you find balance hard, I would say if you don't have your belt on and say there is a bit of turbulence, you might slip. So just make sure that you've got your belt on and it's quite tight, if that's the case. But that's the only thing I would say. Like, I never felt like it had thrown me forward, but especially if you're landing, it does kind of tilt forward, but it's not like a harsh tilt. It's just like a gradual tip a little bit, and then if there's a bit of turbulence, it might shake. But yeah, it's never caused an injury, so to speak. Again, fingers crossed. So I've had a lot of questions about how the chair is stored. Quite honestly, I've never seen it. I've got a video here, which I'll put in, that Jenny's husband, now husband, sent a picture for me. But basically, I think the chair goes under the plane, so it doesn't stay with me. I think it goes where the luggage goes, but if there's any pilots that's watching that could confirm, yeah, it goes in there and it goes in as the chair is already. So my chair doesn't fold up. I just put it as small and as compact as I can. And then I think it gets like ambi lifted so far, and then they have to lift it into the plane. Speaking of that, I got a question about. I'm kind of doing this back to front, but it don't matter. I got a question about how, like, when you're booking a flight, how do they know that someone with a wheelchair is coming on? So when you book your flights, it obviously depends which airline you're going with, but pretty much every airline will ask, do you have a disability? Whether that's mobility, visual, hearing, like it'll list everything. So obviously I put mobility, then it'll talk about scooters and chairs and you tick wheelchair and it'll just go through that. You have to know, the one thing I would say, and I'll kind of like wrap it up here, I guess. I could probably do a part two, but I've been talking for like 20 minutes already. But the main thing I would say is that you have to know your chair really well. So you have to know the weight, the dimensions, the model. You have to know how it works. You have to explain how it drives. And the main thing, you have to know what type of battery it is. So for me, it's a dry cell. And basically, they are a bit funny about batteries, I guess, for like chemical reasons. And they always want to know how do you disengage the chair so it can't be turned on at all. So with this one, you basically press a button to cut the circuit off, and then you put it into manual mode so that it can be pushed. So even though it's a really like big chair, um, as long as you cut the circuit and put it into manual mode, it's free to fly. So the only thing I would say is because airlines are so big, you have to explain everything about your chair to a lot of people. Even though there's paperwork, even though you've filled everything in, people will say to you, "What kind of battery is it?" So you have to be ready and on the ball to be like, "Dry cell." Honestly, I'm so used to saying that now. And I think that's one kind of piece of advice I would say is get used to talking about your chair, how it works, what it needs, how you move everything. And it just gives you confidence and them confidence that, everything's going to go smoothly. Um, yeah, I would say that's about it. Oh, and obviously, I guess the one other thing is that the main difference when you going to get a flight is that instead of checking in, you go to special assistance first. So special assistance is kind of like if you get a train and you go to, assistance office, it's the same kind of thing. So you go to a special assistance first and you announce your arrival. You say, I've got a flight, blah, blah, blah. And then they just know that you've arrived, you're going to be getting a flight, and then it's time to check in. And when you check in yourself and you check in your chair as well. So there's kind of another step. Once you check in, then they'll take you to security. But sometimes you can go through like a separate lane for security when you've got assistance. It just depends. Um, and my brother can get help holding all the luggage because obviously if he's like helping me and holding the luggage, it can be a bit of a faff. So that's another way that assistance people can help. So yeah, I've kind of done that in a bit of a higgledy-piggledy way, but I guess my summary is that, right, going on an aeroplane as a wheelchair user, a powered wheelchair user, it can be done. I don't think we're in the best place at the moment. I don't think technology is on our side. I don't think people are on our side. And I think the system makes it so that, we can go on holiday, we can go on work, business trips, but it's such a mental effort, it's such a physical effort that there are so many people out there who just choose not to travel because it just feels so hard to do and so difficult to do. And it just shouldn't be like that because, 2 trips that I've done this year has been for work purposes, and it's been such an amazing life experience. And it's like, why, just because I use a wheelchair, why should I, first of all, not accept an amazing opportunity like that? But also, why should it be so hard? Why should people, be worried that they might not even be able to move once they get to the destination? Or, the wheelchair might not even arrive, or it'll be broken and no one will care. Like, there's so many worries and they're so valid. So, yeah, I guess my kind of top tip is I have been so fearful of travel and not just planes, trains, buses, like genuine panic attacks when I was like 18 to 23, 24. And the best way, genuine way I've got over that is going with someone who I trust and just keep doing it. Even though you have panic attacks, you don't want to do it, people shout at you, things go wrong, like, you end up getting this sort of stamina built up and resilience. And again, you shouldn't have to have resilience, but you do, to the point where you do it so much that it becomes normal. So when you're being treated a little bit differently, you're like, wait, I've done this before. This is so normal. Like, I should be able to do this just like everyone else. Like, your mental attitude changes. I would say that is the best way to get over it. But again, it costs money, it's not easy to do, and sometimes we don't have a trusted person. So, yeah, I guess that's just my point of view. That's what I've done. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any other questions. I realise that I've probably not answered everything there. And yeah, thank you for watching. And also, if you enjoyed this, I have lots of other social media. I've got Instagram, and I've also got a Patreon if you would like to support my work a little bit further, get some exclusive videos and posts. But if not, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.